It's time for Clubhouse Chatter. Here's Norm Ordez.
Hey, that's right. Good morning and welcome back. First shows of the new year. Brian, Happy New Year, man.
Hey, Happy New Year. It's been fun, though, huh? We've got a lot of things going on.
Got a lot of things going on. So, our first guest is Nate Boyer, but we did not get a hold of him. So, Nate the Great, give me a call. Hey, our in-studio guest host is Ty Eriksen. And Ty played baseball at Willamette. And I will let Ty tell a little bit about himself and a little bit about his baseball background. He plays internationally in Europe. So this is kind of a cool deal here.
That's correct. A son of Oregon, born in Eugene, grew up in the Portland area. First, thank you, gentlemen, for having me here.
Not a problem.
I'm excited to join you guys. Yeah, native Oregonian, and then kind of set free into the world and went where baseball took me. First to Germany as a high schooler, as an exchange student playing in the German league, then to Israel, back to Germany, and then bouncing around Europe a fair amount. I think all in all, probably about 12 countries.
And how long you been doing that now?
I moved over to Germany, to Munich, permanently in 2008 after graduating from Willamette.
Man, Germany's gorgeous.
Yeah, you were born there.
I was born in Germany. Spent about 5 years, almost 5 years of my life over there. My dad was in the United States Army, and so born in Wiesbaden, spent 4 years in Baumholder, and so I've got some pretty good memories of Germany.
That's pretty cool.
And so baseball's not one of them. Though. Soccer was huge, and I remember American football because the base teams played football. And so you had the Wiesbaden Warriors who were like the European champs, like a lot. I remember growing and watching up a little bit of them and playing football as a young kid in Germany. Played a little bit of baseball. Baseball wasn't very big over there at that time.
The significance of baseball on different bases, I'm sure, varied, but a lot of the baseball culture in Germany in particular, but also Europe-wide, stems from where American bases were across Italy, a lot of northern parts of Italy, where American military bases are still somewhat active. That's generally where you tend to see the strength of the European baseball culture.
And so, now, what teams have you? I know you played for. Let's see here.
All the teams I've played for. So I've spent 8 seasons with the Munich Haar Disciples. Haar is a suburb of Munich. My first season with that team was 2006 when I was working for ESPN at the World Cup in Germany. That was the connection. And after moving back there, continued to be a part of the team. And having one foot already in Europe allowed me to be involved with other teams. I played with the János Moya Rascals in Hungary and in the Interleague, so across a couple countries. The Tervu Flyers in Basel, Switzerland. I've been a part of the Austrian national team coaching staff in tournaments in Czech Republic, Belgium, Austria, and also as an assistant coach, helping out with the German Baseball Academy. And as we were speaking about just a couple moments ago, the Israel national team. Just got an email from Peter Kurtz this morning saying that I'm still on the staff for the upcoming European Championship qualifier, also known as the B Pool. And I'm excited to be a part of that. Obviously, I'm guessing we'll talk more about World Baseball Classic coming up. So we'll get into that.
So, how European baseball? How is it different from? I mean, obviously, you don't really, fan-wise, it's got to be. It's not huge yet. I know it's growing. No. And then field-wise, the fields of there's probably a need of fields, and you guys are not playing on very good fields.
There has been a tremendous amount of infrastructure growth in baseball in the last decade. having started with European baseball at age 15 in 2000, yes, we played on soccer fields almost exclusively. No base cutouts. There was not a lot of baseball fields in Germany, and that's changed tremendously. There's a lot more support in cities as well as rural communities for the local clubs. And if you go to countries like Italy and the Netherlands, then there's a different baseball culture that's
right.
a little bit more in-depth and established. But drawing fans to the games, still a challenge.
A baseball, a lot of people find baseball boring. And, and I can understand, especially you watching, football or soccer over in Germany, and then you kind of slow it down to a baseball pace. I don't know. I don't know if you're going to get a lot of fans, switching over.
It's definitely the most significant hurdle, pace of play. Rules are much more complex than in soccer,
right,
or even football. I mean, if you compare football to European sports, at least the teams are going in opposite directions, and it's something that they can understand.
Right.
But baseball doesn't have that simplistic directional value, and so with the Hard Disciples the last couple of years, one thing that we tried to do in order to draw fans, because we were close to the city and we were right on the train line in 15-20 minutes from the center of the city, is bring a minor league atmosphere to the ballpark. Mm-hmm. So bouncy houses, have activities between innings where kids can run out on the field and engage more directly with the players and have that opportunity to connect not on the sport level but on the atmosphere level.
Right. Who plays in Europe? I mean, is it mainly guys like you from the smaller colleges that come on over? And what about like your locals? I mean, they get local talent like Max Kepler is the first German to play in the major leagues.
The first German-born.
That's right.
There's a ton of distinctions. Won't even go into that. But the first German was actually Donald Lutz from the Cincinnati Reds. Most famous for hitting a home run on Mother's Day. Pretty impressive. But Max Kepler is definitely the current shining example of European baseball, I think. Being born and raised in Germany, not playing baseball until into his teens, and still being able to accomplish reaching the major leagues
it's impressive.
Pretty outstanding.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
And so now do you have, like, on the Disciples, I mean, how many Americans and what's your roster comprised of?
A large city like Munich is probably an exception to the rule. With the Disciples, I mean, we have Argentinians, Americans, Brits, Romanian, Montenegro. We have players from all over the world because Munich is a bustling metropolis.
Right.
And so if you have the opportunity to have a professional career and play semi-pro baseball on the side, who would turn that down?
Absolutely.
I don't pretend to be a trendsetter in this regard. There were guys decades before me doing the exact same thing, going over to Europe for sports. And,
Lenny Randall.
but the majority of guys in the leagues, whether it be Dutch, Italy, Czech has a strong baseball culture as well. And teams, rather than focusing or establishing their roster with experienced players from the States or the Caribbean or Canada, Asia, they try to rather focus on one need for the team to be competitive and then recruit an import player based on that need. And so you'll see guys, we had an Aussie last year, an Australian that was playing in the Netherlands and had to leave because of visa restrictions. Mm-hmm. And came over to Germany because it's a little bit more relaxed. And he finished the season, played 3 months for us, and I think we probably had, I wouldn't be surprised if we had 10 different nationalities on our team in Munich.
So now you guys. So what? Now you guys play in a league. Is it a German league or is it just around Europe?
One distinction. So I've been with the Heart Disciples the past 8 years, and this offseason I accepted a head coaching position in the Dutch major leagues, the Hoofdklasse. So speaking, the examples of the Heart Disciples is the club that I recently left, and so I'll use two examples.
Okay.
Repeat the question.
So I'm asking about the leagues that they play in. Is it like the Disciples? Do they just play in a German league, or is it just a European-wide league?
There are two leagues that are currently existing. One, the German Bundesliga, the Federal League, and that's the highest level of baseball in Germany, which has 8 teams in the north and 8 teams in the south. Most years, sometimes it changes whether teams are able to promote or are relegated. The German league is split into a north and a south, so they don't have to travel too much. It is still a mostly amateur league, and so a lot of guys have jobs or school,
right,
and have full-time commitments outside of baseball, so they just travel and play on the weekends. The furthest trip for the German team is I think they got like a 6-hour drive, halfway across the country. And for the Netherlands, where I'll be coaching, it's an hour. Like, we will never have a commute for a game of more than an hour.
Wow.
It's that condensed region of talent allows the Dutch leagues to retain players a lot longer because they're not wasting a whole weekend on the road,
right,
driving. They get to go home to their families every night, and I'm sure that plays a role in some German players choosing to end their careers premature.
Now, baseball, we have seen a huge growth in Europe. I mean, not just in Europe, but worldwide. Places like Uganda, and you mentioned the Czech Republic. Baseball is booming over there. Italy, Lenny Randall has worked hard on getting that up and running again. And is there like a favorite country that you like to play in?
Oh man, that's a tough question.
You've been to some pretty cool places.
I have. I've been incredibly fortunate. Baseball's taken me to a lot of corners of the globe that I otherwise wouldn't have visited. Favorite country? I think one of the understated highlights of my career, and this touches on the previous question too, was in Brno this past season with the upstart Euro League that they're trying to instill. Think of it, I don't know how familiar you guys are with soccer, but Champions Leagues, like the top teams play the best teams from other countries on a club level. And going to Brno and playing against a team that was stacked with Czech national team players, a lot of them have played in the minor leagues. They even have some like European legends on their team. Beautiful city. It was in the middle of summer, and like the sunsets over the castles in these towns in the Czech Republic. It's just stunning scenery and great facilities. Prague Baseball Week. I'm sure some of your listeners have also heard of the Prague Baseball Week. Prague's an amazing city. I have a ton of love for Czech culture and their beer. Beautiful. I would say my favorite place is probably Czech Republic.
Wow. Now let's turn our attention to Israel, and man, dude, I'm really excited for the World Baseball Classic coming up in March. Team Israel qualified, first time that they've qualified with a win over Great Britain, and it was strange because it was kind of almost the exact same setting set 4 years ago when they were going up against Spain.
Yeah,
and they got the job done this time, and they're in a tough pool, but I don't see why Israel can't win 2 games coming out of this.
I would agree. They have a team that's stacked with baseball experience, and if anything, they're coming in as a little bit of underdogs.
Yeah.
I think. They've got. Where are they playing? They're playing in Korea.
They're playing in Korea.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Korea is probably the favorite as the host, and even the Dutch national team. We've seen what they've done against the Dominican Republic 4 years ago.
Yep.
So, Israel coming out of the qualifier hopefully has a little bit of momentum built. They have a good group of guys that bonded well in Brooklyn, and I think that is going to be, if they're able to carry that atmosphere over from what they built in Brooklyn, the New York qualifier, to Korea, then they're going to turn some heads.
Like I said, they've got, their hitters. They've got great position players. Of course, we all know that pitching is one of the main cogs, and Jason Marquis, former major leaguer with the Braves, Cardinals, and a couple of other teams, he's going to be kind of leading the way. But after that, they've got to find some pitching. And man, like I said, I'm excited. And we were talking about the team itself on the pressure. And I kind of want you to talk about what you were telling us before we started with the show on, just being able to relax and that whole scene.
Well, some of your listeners may not know about the rules for what countries you can play for, and you just have to be able to get citizenship, get a passport. You don't necessarily have to have a passport in order to play for these countries. And so Israel, through the right of return, Jews are able to play and represent for Israel. And every country takes advantage of this, but I think it's a benefit, one, for growing the game, seeing your country represented. But for the players, there's both the motivation to represent the country, but possibly less pressure to be successful, because you don't know too many people in the country. And using the example of Israel, because we're on that topic, there were a dozen players traveling through Israel this offseason, having the opportunity to learn more about their roots, their cultural heritage, and their religion. And that is terrific. They meet people that they're representing in this tournament. And I think on the one hand, they're incredibly motivated to play for these players, but they're also able to maintain a certain level of relaxed baseball, which is necessary in order to be successful on the diamond.
So, yeah, it's, Cody Decker, we were talking a little bit about Cody Decker, and he kind of keeps things loose in that, he's not the only one. But Jerry Weinstein, great baseball man, works with the Colorado Rockies. I've known Jerry for years, and he's skippering the team. And then who else has he got? He's got Tom Gamboa as a bench coach. I think Nate Fish, isn't Nate Fish coach on that?
I believe Nate will be over there. I got a handful of friends from both the Israel League and the national team that are making the trip. I think Alan Leichman is still with them.
He's with the Dodgers. He's a pitching coach in the Dodgers organization now.
He's Mariners. I think he's changed over to the Mariners.
Did he change over to the Mariners?
Yeah. And then I'm to be honest, I'm not sure who else on the staff for the World Baseball Classic.
I have to check that out. I think they have a female doing, what's her name? Justine?
Yeah.
Seigel?
Yeah, she was with the team in Brooklyn. That's correct.
Doing the middle part of the coaching.
Yeah.
And she's going to be on the show on a later date. I've been in talks with her, and I can't wait because she's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's the mental aspect of baseball has been something that's definitely slid under the radar until this decade. So having someone on board on the staff that is able to ease the nerves of players.
You know, I'm dealing with that with my 8-year-old nephew. And so I started coaching his baseball team last summer. And this year, you know, as they're moving up a level, we're going to start working with them more on how to deal with failure. Because as we know, baseball is a sport of failure. You know, you hit 325, 330, you're considered a Hall of Fame. But when you break it down, you're only putting 33%, you know, hitting balls for 33%. That's not very good. And so having, you know, learning how to deal with failure, you know, because it's okay. You're going to strike out and you're going to make some errors, you know, but what you do is, you know, you got to get back up off the mat and, you know, be able to brush it off and play the game. You know, and baseball is so different from any other sport because of that. And so, you know, mentally, you know, like I said, when I worked in Lancaster with the Jethawks in 2006, the Diamondbacks had a mental coach. And he would come around to all the minor league stops. You know, it's supposed to be there like a couple of times. We saw him like 6 or 7 times in Lancaster because of where we're playing at. Lancaster was the launching pad. And, I mean, we hit like 320 as a team for a season. You know, I mean, the ball flew out of that, and your pitchers are just, you know, blown up.
There's going to be some heads hanging in,
you know,
in the bullpen.
I mean, yeah. And so, you know, he had to come in and, you know, talk all, you know, some of these pitchers down. And, man, I think that's going to be, you know, you're starting to see more of it in the minor league systems and in the major leagues, and now even on the WBC teams and stuff like that, that's another staff member that they're adding too.
Yeah, and of course the focus of the mental health at different levels, the stress of playing in major league ballparks isn't the same as trying to get to the major leagues when you're in single A.
Absolutely.
So you have to work with different guys on different things, and at the lower level you have a ton of international guys that are in the United States for the first time, and there's a lot of cultural issues to overcome as well. If you're not comfortable in your surroundings, then how do you expect to hit a baseball 3 times out of 10?
Right. What's the for you? What has been the best thing about playing internationally, besides the travel?
Oh well, that's opportunity to experience new cultures. I love traveling. I know that's kind of a cheating answer, taking one that you took away, but you know, baseball after soccer is truly an international game, as much as people like to identify it with as the American pastime. Baseball's played all over the world, and people may not understand to what extent in some of these corners.
There's Nate Boyer. All right. Good morning.
Hey, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. We've been filming some stuff for Fox and the Super Bowl out here in D.C.
Oh, okay.
All weekend. So
all right.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It all kind of came up last minute. So
okay, that's cool. So we got Ty Eriksen here in studio. Ty, and we were talking about baseball. He plays baseball internationally, so he's over in Europe and the Netherlands and all that. So, so with us we have Nate Boyer. And so first of all, I've got to apologize to you because earlier in the week, as I'm pumping the show out for social media, I put you down as a U.S. Army Ranger, and you are not a Ranger. You are a Green Beret, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, I love my Rangers, but I'm not a Ranger. Yeah, I'm a Green Beret.
So Nate Boyer. So Nate Boyer served in the United States Army for 6 years as a Green Beret, saw multiple tours over in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then he came over and he walked on to the University of Texas as a long snapper. And this is all, you didn't play high school football?
No, I didn't. I actually never played growing up. It was always something I wanted to do, but I just didn't do it, and I regretted it. You know, it's my favorite sport, and I love the idea of playing for the man on your left and right, just like in the military and all that. So yeah, I came out at 29 years old, went to University of Texas and started to give it a shot then.
So how did that work for you? I mean, so did you just why the University of Texas?
Have you been to Austin?
Actually,
greatest city in America.
Austin is pretty cool. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard so much about it.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. I loved it. I loved it there. But also, I just wanted to go somewhere that was, challenging academically, but also was going to be a traditional program that's, I challenge. Obviously, the team hasn't played too well in the last couple of years here, but it's got that tradition and all that. So that was a huge part of it for me.
And so you decide to walk on, and you ended up you redshirted your first year, and then you played one game your second year. Is that how it worked?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I went in on a kickoff in my second year. Just wanted to find a way on the field. That's sort of what led me to long snapping.
And then
I was a safety
straight?
when I walked on.
Okay.
Yeah, 38 straight. Yeah.
38 straight as a long snapper.
Yeah, I taught myself how to do it when I was 31. I started honestly just watching YouTube videos and trying to figure it out, studying tape, and just figured it out. It took a while. I had a lot of growing pains with it, but the starter was a senior. That redshirt freshman year, and so I saw an opening there, and I'm not the greatest athlete in the world, so I just wanted to contribute somehow and find a way on the field. That was my calling, I guess.
So 38 straight, and then the NFL came knocking. You weren't drafted, but you managed to find yourself on the Seattle Seahawks roster.
Yeah. The last day of the draft there, right when the Seahawks, the Seahawks and the Rams both were calling and wanted me to sign with them, so I had to pick one. And I went with Seattle just because I like the way that Johnson and Pete Carroll do things up there. But also, it's just I knew it was going to be tougher, it was going to be a bigger challenge because they were winning. They had just gone to back-to-back Super Bowls, and that appealed to me. I want to try out for the best, and if I'm not good enough to make the final cut, which I ultimately wasn't, that's okay because I'll never regret that I didn't, go for it all the way.
So why? So you chose the United States Army. How did you enlist? What was leading up? What was the reasons for you to enlist in the United States Army?
9/11 had happened a couple years before
right.
I actually joined, but I started traveling at that time and trying to figure out what was going on in the world, and I ended up in the Darfur in Sudan and did some relief work there for a couple of months. And I was just inspired by how enamored the people there were with the American culture and the idea of one of our people going over, leaving what we have here to go help them there. And I just felt like those people were worth fighting for, and that's the main reason I joined. Not that it wasn't that I was appreciative of everything here, but what we do, what a lot of people don't recognize, is when we go to these places, we're not just fighting for our freedom and our people, but we're more fighting for those that don't have this, those that are oppressed every day and aren't as fortunate as we are to live in a place like this. So that's what appealed to me, and especially the Green Beret's mission of working with indigenous forces and host nationals, and everything that we do is by, with, and through the local people of that country. So that was kind of the main reasons.
And so I want to, first of all, we didn't get this off in the front, but I want to dedicate this show to, number one, my dad, Sergeant First Class, retired Eugene Ordez. He's no longer with us. And to all the other men and women who have served and are serving this great country of ours. And, it's always exciting for me to get people like you on the show and, talk about what you're doing and what you have done. Because you guys are the true American heroes. Not the football player Nate Boyer, but the Green Beret, Nate Boyer, and I know you shrug that off most of the time, and but thank you for doing what you have done and doing what you're doing.
I appreciate that. We all appreciate that a lot, and thank your father for his service.
And he is one of those old guys. Set the table for all of you young guys, and Vietnam veteran, and it's a good thing when we get people like you on the show. So
thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, a lot of those guys, especially from your father's era, didn't get the same support and welcome that I got. So I feel extremely lucky.
So I want to talk about, one of our pictures that we've got of you is as a Seattle Seahawk carrying the flag onto the field, leading the team. I want to talk about the first time that you ever got to carry the flag for a team. Whether it's the Seahawks or the Longhorns. For you, being a veteran, what was that like? What were the emotions?
I mean, more than anything, I was just afraid of dropping the damn thing. That was my biggest fear. It was at Texas my freshman year, my first game, and running out of the tunnel with all these monsters running behind me on my heels, and you got to run through this fog and smoke they shoot out of the tunnel. I just didn't want to fall and drop the flag. That was my biggest fear. But also, it was very, very prideful. I mean, for me, the flag. Running out with the flag is representing and remembering, drawing attention to those that never got to come back, but also those that are literally over there fighting right now. And we wouldn't be able to play these games without people that sacrifice so much every day.
Absolutely.
They still inspire me. There's guys that have done, and girls that have done way more heroic stuff than I've done. And I haven't done anything heroic, honestly. I served my country, and I'm very proud of that. But it's really honoring the real heroes. That's what I think.
That's pretty cool. I also would like to ask you about the Colin Kaepernick incident. Now, I was talking to Ty a little bit before the show, and number one, Colin Kaepernick is a hell of an athlete. I have never met him, so I can't vouch on his character. But from what I've seen, he seems like he's a good dude. He made a decision that didn't set well with a lot of people, and that's him. And that
right.
There's a cause that was near and dear to him, and he stood up for it. And I have no problem with that. Can you talk a little bit about the conversation that you had with him?
Yeah, it was just, I wanted to make sure that he understood everybody that was affected by that decision, and what it looked like to a lot of people, and how everybody has a different relationship to the flag and the anthem, and but also let him understand that I don't know what it's like to walk around in his shoes, and I would never pretend to know that. And so it was. That's what it was about. He read my open letter and wanted to sit down with me, and I think he was concerned about the way a lot of people in the military were taking it. Yeah, I mean, that was the gist of it. And he was a sensitive guy. I think he kind of jumped in a little quick to what he was doing. Wasn't exactly sure the repercussions,
right?
And they were pretty large. And but he's not a bad guy. He's a good guy. He means well. He wants our country to do better, and he just has his opinions about what that looks like. And for him, his relationship to the anthem and the flag is very different than mine.
Right.
And so it was more about us listening to each other with open minds and just accepting and understanding that we're just different. And me standing next to him while he took a knee was, I think, an important message for a lot of people. It got drowned out a little bit because a lot of the news outlets took that a different direction.
Right.
But what it was supposed to be about was maybe a snapshot of the America we'd like to see, where we don't have to agree, but we're at least willing to listen and live together, and stand beside one another.
Absolutely.
That's well said.
Yeah. Because I think he got a bum rap, and like I said, I don't know the guy, but I know people who know him, and they say that he's a great guy, and he just stood up for what he believed in, and that's good. That's healthy.
Right.
But, there's always going to be, no matter what you do, there's always going to be repercussions. There's always going to be the naysayers and whatnot. And so we got the Super Bowl coming up next Sunday, a week from today. Hey, can you give us who you like? Who do you like? Are you going to go with the Patriots?
I'm gonna pull. I'd like to see a new team up there.
Okay.
I no doubt that, and I love the way the Patriots play. And actually, one of my real good friends, Chris Long, is a Patriot, so I'd love to see him get a ring too. But at the same time, it'd be cool to have a new team up there. The Falcons haven't been in almost 20 years, and
yeah.
I don't know when the last time they won was, but it's been a bit. So I think. I'm excited to see what happens. It should be a good one. I think it should be a good one.
Now, are you going to be there for that?
I'll be out in Houston. I'll be out in Houston for about 6 days through the Super Bowl. I'm not actually going to the game, but I'm doing a bunch of sort of some media stuff out there and playing in a wounded amputee flag football game and all kinds of stuff. So I'll be out there for the week, but I probably won't be in the stadium for the game, which I've heard from a lot of people is actually more fun because it's sort of a corporate event. At the end of the day, it's a lot of people that go to the game aren't actually fans of either team, and it's not a home game for either team. So I wouldn't mind sitting with a bunch of my buddies and having a beer and watching it, on a comfortable couch or something. That wouldn't be a bad thing.
Now, you have a website, nateboyer.com, and tell us a little bit about what we can find on your website.
I mean, it just sort of keeps you up to date with everything I got going on. I work with a couple of different nonprofits. I'm actually climbing Kilimanjaro as part of a clean water project in March with some wounded vets, including Chris Long. It's Water Boys is Chris Long's initiative to bring clean water to East Africa through NFL players and fans and locker rooms and all that stuff. And then the other one is the other nonprofit's Merging Vets and Players. MVP is something I started with Jay Glazer from Fox Sports. Mm-hmm. Where we're bringing together former athletes and combat veterans and helping them find purpose again moving forward once the uniform comes off, and kind of building that camaraderie and team back up that often is lost so easy when the career ends,
right.
for both athletes and veterans. There's a mutual respect there. Obviously, veterans have sacrificed quite a bit more, but they look up to athletes. I think a lot of people do,
right.
Veterans and non-veterans, so. It's a cool little program we got going.
That's pretty important too. I know, my dad retired back in 1978, and after spending 21 years in, and he kind of had a rough go of it, because of his PTSD, right. And of course, he didn't get diagnosed with PTSD until the early 90s. We always knew there was something wrong with him, but we couldn't put a finger on it, and.
Right.
So, anything to do with the veterans, you got all the guys coming back from, Afghanistan, Iraq, and whatnot. And I'll tell you, it's not easy. And,
right.
I mean, that, and I know that. I've witnessed it through my father. And in the end, it ended up, it caught up to my dad. My dad, passed away due to some Agent Orange complications and, PTSD. PTSD was
right.
a big kicker. And, these guys need help. These men and women need our help. And, I wish that, we could do more for them,
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Sorry, it's a car alarm.
Not a problem.
But yeah, there's so much more we can do. And should do as a country, veterans and civilians coming together to help all of us, because it's not easy. It definitely is not easy.
Absolutely. All right, Nate. Hey, I want to put you on the spot a little bit, and so we're going to talk a little bit about music. I want to know what you're listening to. So what are you into music wise right now?
Man, I listen to everything. I really do. I don't really have a genre, man. Just stuff that inspires me. I love the new stuff. I love the Avett Brothers and Mumford & Sons and a lot of those type of bands. Those are awesome. But I don't really have a type, man. It just depends on the mood.
Right.
I like everything.
Now, are you still in the Austin area?
Say it again.
Are you still living in the Austin area?
Yeah, no, I live in Los Angeles right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I wish I lived in Austin still. I miss it a lot. But no, I spend most of the time in Los Angeles, kind of working in film and television now. And but I'm working on getting back to Austin as soon as I can. I miss it a lot. My dad's actually from up towards your way, though. I believe he's from Grants Pass.
Yeah, down south,
Oregon.
Huh.
And so I love the Pacific Northwest too. I wouldn't mind getting a place out in Seattle. Actually, that'd be a great spot too.
Nate, you have a little bit of a background in Hollywood, and with your tremendous story, who would you pick to play you in a movie about your life?
Can it be anybody?
Yeah.
Alive or dead?
Why not?
Why not? I mean, if it was like John Wayne, man, he played a Green Beret already in the Green Berets.
One of my all-time favorites.
Or Stallone, he played Rambo. One of those two. I mean, if it was modern day. I mean, I like to joke around a lot, and I think this guy's hilarious. But I like Chris Pratt a lot.
Oh, there you go.
I don't think he's played a big military role yet, so that's what he should play.
Okay.
And he's a Seahawks fan too, actually.
Oh, really? Right
Yeah.
on. Do you still follow the Seahawks to this day?
Oh yeah, I talk to a lot of the players all the time and coaching staff and all that. No, we're still very tight.
Very cool. They had a pretty decent year. Fell a little bit short this year, but nonetheless had a pretty decent year.
Yeah, I mean they got a few positions they need to shore up, and they have some injuries and whatnot, but they'll be back, no doubt. I mean they're still so young, so talented.
Waving that 12th man flag, does that kind of irk you off a little bit? Being a Longhorn, and for the Seahawks having something that Texas A&M came up with, does that kind of irk you a little bit?
That what? Say it again.
Does that kind of irk you a little bit that the Seahawks kind of are borrowing, something that Texas A&M started?
Oh, the 12 thing? Well, I went to Texas, so I don't care. They can take it all they want.
Okay, perfect. All right, hey Nate.
No, I mean it's a 12, not the 12th man. It's supposed to be a little bit different, but
right.
Yeah.
So once again, Mr. Nate Boyer, former actually Texas Longhorn, Hook 'em Horns, and
Hook 'em.
Man, it's hard not to be a fan of yours, and for doing what you've done and your story. I mean, it's an impressive story. Not playing high school football, doing some work in different countries, and then joining the military, becoming a Green Beret, and doing what you did, and then walking on and playing college football and playing professional football. Dude, that's a dream.
It really has been. I mean, I'm very, very lucky. I mean, I live in a country like this where we get to pretty much chase any dreams we want to chase, I know we're not perfect, but it's not like this everywhere else. There's a reason that everybody wants to come here.
That is true.
I mean, I know Canada's offering that, hey, come here instead, but nothing wrong with Canada. I love Canada. I love Canadians. But there's a reason that all these people want to come here because it's an incredible place.
Yep.
And I mean, it's because of the men and women that fight for it, and also for the people back home that support those people. That's why we're so willing to go risk our lives and be brave and courageous, is because we know we're going to get taken care of. If something happens to us, our family's going to get taken care of.
Yep.
And that reassurance helps us with that confidence going into battle that, at the end of the day, as long as I'm fighting for the man on my left and right, we're going to be okay. It's all going to be okay at the end of the day.
Nate, how did you get involved in becoming a relief worker in Africa? How did that start? What was your mindset at the time?
Honestly, I just flew myself over there. I tried to go with an NGO, but they wouldn't let me because I didn't have a degree. So I just flew over there and made it happen once I got on the ground, to be honest.
Wow.
How was that?
Talking my way into it, and it was unreal. It was like nothing I'd ever done before. I mean, it's a developing country in the middle of a genocide. So it was, it was something that's really hard to describe unless you're there. But it definitely pushed me in that service direction, especially for those that are so much less fortunate and don't have the basics that we take for granted every day here.
That was going to be my next question. I'm guessing that experience is what led to your decision to join the military and seek that challenge to bring the values that you said are important to you from America and being able to let more people experience that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's exactly right. It was just, even if it's just that American dream that they believe they can chase, I mean, that's enough sometimes to change a place and change people. That hope, you know what I mean? So it's so complicated. There's so much that goes into it. All you can control is your environment, your surroundings, and there's so many. You can never control the results in life, at the end of the day. So I'm just proud of the time I got to spend over there with those people. I'm proud of the time I got to the people I fought alongside in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. That was everything to me, to have those people feel pride in their country and patriotism in their country and be grateful for us going over there was enough. I don't care about the politics of it and whether, we should have or shouldn't have gone. For those people that I fought alongside, we absolutely should have been there. And they loved it. I mean, so many of them when we went to Iraq were just grateful. Like, finally, we've been oppressed for so long, we don't want this. And it's still we got a lot of work to do, but especially in the special forces, we want to be there. We want to be helping and securing and stabilizing and training, advising, assisting. We want that mission.
Once again, Nate Boyer. Hey, Nate, thank you for coming on. Let's do this again sometime soon.
Definitely. Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
All right, Nate. Hey.
Take care, Nate.
Let's, I'm going to throw out a Go Falcons.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Nate. Hey, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right. Once again, Nate Boyer. And so, with that said, with all the issues that we've got going on in the United States of America right now, this is still the greatest country. I mean, and you might be able to argue that a little bit because of the different places that you've been, but
I wouldn't argue. Everybody finds a place where they're comfortable.
Right.
And born and raised in the United States has allowed me so many opportunities. And as Nate was saying, if I wasn't from the United States, I wouldn't have had these opportunities.
Yeah.
The American passport is incredibly valuable, despite the flack that Americans may get in some corners of the world. It's not a perfect country, but it sets the bar very high.
Yep. All right. With that said, we are sponsored by. We got Mark Littell coming on at 10:30. And so we are sponsored by baseballisms.com. If you like my hat, if you like my shirt, you can find it at baseballism.com. We're also sponsored by Chris Gazelle, Vancouver, Washington. Baseballdudes.com. To be the best, you must train like the best. Mitch Canham up there in Washington. He is the new manager out at Modesto for the Modesto Nuts. Based by pros, building athletes, sports education. His dad, Mark Canham, does our shirts for Clubhouse Chatter. And every week we stream live here at yamhilltoday.com. So, hey, we're always looking for sponsors. Shoot me an email, normbo18@gmail.com. And you can find us on Clubhouse Chatter, 1T, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, iTunes, MLB.com blogs. Hey, just do a search at Clubhouse Chatter and you'll get quite a few of our shows. So this is Ty Eriksen in studio with us for the day. Of course, Brian Eriksen. We haven't figured out if they're related yet. I'm Norm. We're going to be back here in a few more minutes with Mark Littell, former St. Louis Cardinal and Kansas City Royals pitcher.